I have Angee, Jill, and Emily from the Kirk Gibson Foundation, the Kirk Gibson Center. How are we doing today, everyone?
Good.
Good,
Thanks for
thanks.
having us.
I was curious if any of you watched, Game 7 of the World Series this past weekend.
I watched part of it. Yes, yes. I was kind of too late for me to stay up. I know. That's kind of sad to say. I had to go to bed.
Well, yeah, it was out in Eastern time. The reason I ask is because obviously, amongst all the amazing moments in Dodgers history,
Hmm.
Kirk Gibson has one of the most
Of
memorable
course, yeah.
moments. I thought it was fitting that we had this conversation a few days after that. So really excited to talk to you today. Obviously, you guys are doing some great work there in Farmington Hills, Michigan. And to start off, I would love if you could paint a picture of maybe the historical landscape when it comes to resistance training and Parkinson's. How have things really evolved over the years? And if you were to step back and evaluate where we're at right now with respect to understanding the impact and the benefits of resistance training, where are we at with this population?
Right. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and start, and then I'll have Emily and Jill kind of share their thoughts as well. I'm a physical therapist. I've been practicing for 28 years, and I know Jill has been practicing a little bit longer than me. We both graduated from the same university here in Michigan. So just a little perspective of when I was in PT school 28 years ago, when we learned about Parkinson's disease, it was really learning about compensation. How can we help someone with Parkinson's? Give them a walker, give them a cane. There wasn't this idea of restorative therapy that you could actually help someone get better and stay better for a long period of time. So I think over the years, in terms of research, we've come a long way thinking of where we were 28 years ago to where we are today, especially in the last 10 years. So much research is available now demonstrating the benefits of exercise, aerobic exercise, and strength training. We know that strength training, based on research, helps so many people with Parkinson's in terms of their balance, their mobility, their overall quality of life. And the research has really pointed to that over the years in terms of the great benefits of strength training as part of the whole package of exercise. So naturally, as part of our program here, we offer strength training classes.
Great. So, I mean, it's nice because you mentioned when you started professionally and you've been able to see this progress over the years to what it is now, and now really being at the forefront, of this and taking all the research and putting it into everyday practice, which is awesome. My question to the group would be, what are some of the main physical challenges of individuals with Parkinson's or Parkinson's related diagnoses? What are some of the main challenges they face? And how do these challenges progress over time? Maybe we have someone listening that isn't as familiar with Parkinson's disease.
I can hop in there. I'm Emily, and I'm also a physical therapist, and I've been practicing for around 10 years. I'm the director of innovation here at the Kirk Gibson Center. So, bradykinesia is one of the primary symptoms we see in people with Parkinson's. So, that's a speed amplitude dysregulation. So, essentially, people with Parkinson's are not able to generate the right amount of force and kind of bigness of movement to do everyday functional things like getting in and out of the car, getting out of chairs, getting out of bed. So bradykinesia is one of those primary symptoms that we see, and that really impacts people's independence, makes them require more help from their care partners to do things. And so what's great about strength training is we're helping people to get stronger and be able to target some of that bradykinesia. So we want to make sure not only are we strengthening, but also thinking about functional strengthening as well, so that people are able to do those everyday tasks like getting in and out of bed better, and even like getting up off the floor, for example, those everyday functional things. So the strength training is absolutely going to help with those things. And what I really like about the Kaiser equipment is they're giving the technology of it allows the person to get that real-time feedback on their amplitude. So making sure they're actually moving through that full range of motion when they're doing the strengthening. So I think that's going to make it even more Parkinson specific with the type of strength training we're doing here.
Yeah, you mentioned it being more challenging for activities of daily living and maybe observing a decrease in force. How about things like power, right? Do we also see a decrease in power with time?
Yes, absolutely. So
Yeah.
not being able to generate enough force to be able to get up out of chairs, and that's going to impact their everyday movement. So for sure, we want to think about power training.
Yeah.
Right.
Specifically.
Yeah. And speed of movement as well.
Yeah.
So when they're using the equipment, like looking at that, like velocity as well as the power.
And the research overall has shown the ability to reverse some of this, attenuate the loss of this. Where is the research at?
Yeah, I'll try to answer some of this. I think we're in the midst, this is like kind of a crucial time right now where we're learning exactly what exercise is doing to affect the brain and make changes in someone that has Parkinson's. There's current research going on right now, and so we're kind of all, I think the Parkinson's community is waiting for that research to come out. I mean, there is research definitely about the benefits of strength training in terms of improving balance and overall quality of life, but in terms of directly affecting brain change, we're getting there, and we're close to like really figuring out what exactly is happening within the brain of those people that have Parkinson's disease.
Yeah,
Does anybody want to add to that?
I should have asked, and the
Yeah.
answer is, do we know exactly?
We're getting closer. I think
Yeah.
we know that, like, basically there are some nice studies out of in terms of aerobic conditioning, in terms of like Dr. Jay Albers out of the Cleveland Clinic, Dr. Kirk out of Northwestern. He's doing a lot of research in terms of exercise and brain change for people with Parkinson's. And I think we're still learning. We still have a lot to learn, and we're still learning a lot more about how exercise is directly impacting and changing, as I mentioned, the brain in those people that have Parkinson's.
There are a lot of other conditions that people experience where it seems like early intervention usually leads to better results. Is it the same with Parkinson's?
Absolutely. Exercise has been shown to help delay the onset of the first motor symptom and diagnosis of Parkinson's. And there are studies going on to look at that neuroprotective effect. It's been shown in animal models, but more and more research is coming out in humans on how exercise can be protective against even getting Parkinson's in the first place, which is really exciting. And just to add one more thing about with the strength training research, not only are people, their muscles getting stronger with strength training, but they also are doing outcome measures like the UPDRS, which is looking at people's motor symptoms. So like really Parkinson specific outcome measures. And in the Corcos group that Angee mentioned, they use that outcome measure where they're actually measuring people's motor symptoms like the bradykinesia, ability to do things functionally. And they see improvements in motor symptoms up to even like 2 years out. So there's even some long-term studies out there in strength training.
What's an example of one of the, you mentioned UPDRS, was that correct?
Yep, Unified Parkinson's Disease Rating Scale. That's how the neurologists kind of grade someone's Parkinson's. So it's looking at like their fine motor skills and how do they do getting up out of chairs and walking and thinking skills. So it's a way to grade all of their Parkinson specific symptoms. And so they use that outcome measure in some of the studies. And in the Corcos group, they have a study that was up to 2 years out and showed that people were able to make improvements in that rating scale, both initially like at a 6-month mark and then up to 2 years out. So I think what's neat is we know that people with Parkinson's, not only can they actually get their muscles stronger, but they can also have an impact on their actual Parkinson's symptoms as well with resistance training.
Angee, as you alluded to, that's a big change from what was happening 30 years ago.
Yeah, it's exciting. I think as physical therapists working in the field for this long, it's exciting to know that you can actually make a difference and you can help people not only get better, but stay better for longer periods of time. I think I will mention too, in terms of like what we've learned in the just in fitness in general, even in physical therapy, that there was a time where we weren't challenging and pushing people like we needed to. So we've learned over the years that we need to challenge people more and push them because they can do more than they realize they can do. So I think that's kind of change, and that's where we're at too, is we want to push them into where they can hit their optimal like learning point, where we want to challenge them to a point that it's doable, but difficult as well. As most of us say, if it's not challenging, it's not changing. So we know we need to push them a little bit more than what we had been doing in the past.
Right. Obviously, we want to do everything progressively and safely, but it seems like if
Right.
we bubble wrap and we're a bit too conservative, it's actually really not to the benefit or optimal benefit of that individual. So, beyond training, what other healthy behaviors are out there in terms of research, like nutrition, recovery, or even the social aspect, like community involvement, which I know is a big part of your center? What role do the other factors play outside of resistance training in improving quality of life for these people with Parkinson's?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to say anything, Jill. You've been working in the community as well about or the center as well about the community aspect, working with the people in the classes.
Yeah, I think community is a huge part of feeling to everybody's health, especially in this setting. When you have PD or a neurological disease, sometimes it can be really isolating, or you feel as though you're kind of facing it alone. And having a center like this, they have that sense of community and support. They're able to kind of see other people walking in their same shoes. And being here in the community too, I think that they feel that they are, taking care of themselves, they're being successful, they're taking control of their life back away from Parkinson's in a way. So it's we see it every day, and I think it's one of the best parts of the center, and they can, support each other, encourage each other, and then just be sounding boards sometimes too for each other.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I totally
Anything to
agree.
add?
Yeah. And
I
I
was
would
just
just like to add too. Sorry, I was just going to say like the care partner aspect too. We've been a community where we not only the people with Parkinson's can come together and have that social aspect, but the care partners are able to come together and just maybe it's just walking around the track when their loved ones are in class, but that's been really key too here at the center that we have the care partners able to come together and socialize.
Well, it's a nice natural segue into the center, which I want to discuss. Let's just go back to care partner for a second. For someone who's maybe not familiar with that term, what is that exactly?
Wants to go.
So it's basically anyone who is involved in the member's life, and it could be, a spouse, it could be a child, it could be a significant other, a friend. So it's anybody that, is involved with that member. And that's the whole sense of community too. It doesn't have to be the spouse. So it's a variety of people.
Excellent. And let's talk about the center, the Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness. Like I said, located in Farmington Hills, Michigan. When did the center officially open?
August 11th was our first assessment that we did with people. And so it's been lots of planning in the meantime, though. So the foundation itself has been around for a long time. And they've been funding projects around the state of Michigan. And Angee, you can probably describe even better, but they've been funding classes in the community for people with Parkinson's, but really had this vision of the center coming together as one place to provide exercise and educational programs for people with Parkinson's and for their care partners. And so the foundation's been planning this for a few years now. And then Angee and myself came on board around March of this past year and have been working on planning the center, and then brought on some of our core coaches like Jill to help us continue planning. But our first official day of doing assessments was August 11th, and then our first classes started September 3rd. So we are brand new, ramping up, and we've had a lot of interest. We have over 1,000 members interested in becoming members with us and beginning that registration process. And we've assessed over 450 people. And a lot of those members have already taken classes. So we are busy and loving what we do.
Incredible. And Angee, maybe I can zoom out for 1 second. We can just hit on the overall foundation's mission.
Yeah, for sure. So when Kirk was diagnosed in 2015 with Parkinson's, they started the Kirk Gibson Foundation. He had a foundation already, but his focus kind of turned a little bit more towards helping the community, the Parkinson's community. So initially, the Kirk Gibson Foundation, as Emily mentioned, they were providing grants to a lot of organizations here in Michigan to help fund research and fund classes for people with Parkinson's. And then they realized several years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, that Kirk was like, I want to do more. And so with a wonderful group of volunteers and Steve Anir and Wally and Bill, board members, they decided that they really wanted to start this center. And so the mission, really, Kirk's mission and the center's mission, the foundation, I should say's mission, was to really improve the quality of life for people living with Parkinson's through the development of this delivery and delivery of activity-based program. So that was their mission when they started about getting the center going. And so now the vision of the center is really to inspire people with Parkinson's to really live their best lives through, we mentioned community, movement, and education. So we do offer some educational programs as well.
Excellent. I mean, it's so exciting to be a part of that and to see this come to life. I mean, you're at, this is grassroots level, and it's really cool to now have people coming in, open up the doors on August 11th,
Right.
and here we go. I imagine there's been so much planning, and now you're in the action phase, which is great. So I'm curious to know more about the education aspect and maybe some of the courses or workshops that you offer in this space.
Have Emily talk about the education.
So the educational class that we have to offer is called Roadmap to Wellness. And the purpose of that was almost like an extended orientation or a debrief from the assessment for our members, because from all of our experience working in the clinic and in the community setting with people with Parkinson's, we know that people really need that guidance and that coaching to feel confident to keep coming and really know what exercise is best for them individually based on their goals. So we developed that as a every other Tuesday class offering that members and their care partners can also come to. And it's to just provide them additional guidance on which classes might be best for them, whether they want to improve their balance or their endurance. What are they currently doing for exercise? So it just allows us an opportunity to meet with those members. We have about 20 people who come to those classes, and they maybe have already gotten started with classes and are coming. And so it's a way to just guide them more specifically on like, how often should they be exercising? Which classes should they come to? So just giving them that extra attention and guidance and coaching. We also talk about goal setting. So just really thinking about setting SMART goals, since we know people usually just have generic goals like, I want to slow the progression of Parkinson's. And so we help them really figure out what exactly does that mean? How can we use the exercise guidelines from the Parkinson Foundation to inform, what type of exercise we're encouraging you to come to. So yeah, we really love that educational class, and we definitely see it evolving as our members' needs continue. And we'll plan to offer even more educational classes in the future once we figure out what topics people want to know about.
That's fantastic. I love the attention to detail and the thoughtfulness about having the care partners. I can see how that could be just a huge piece of the puzzle. And you had mentioned earlier, the PD diagnosis, it can feel isolating. So to have those care partners be involved is a great idea and awesome. And I'm sure, you're not just impacting the lives of people with PD and improving those lives. I'm sure the care partners walk away with a lot more education as well.
For sure. Yeah.
So let's talk about the team that you've built there. Angee, maybe you can start and hit on that, and then, feel free to chime in, Emily, about your role, and Jill, your role. But I'm curious to know, okay, what's the team look like over at the center?
Right. So as we mentioned, the Kirk Gibson Foundation started this process before we came on board. So big shout out to them that they've been supportive along the way. So Emily and I were hired in March. I'm the director of programming, and so really part of my job is hiring the coaches and getting the team going. So I think one of the things we've been really fortunate about here at the Kirk Gibson Center is that we have been able to hire a really core group of coaches that are physical therapists who specialize in Parkinson's, physical therapy assistants. So excited about that. And then the other coaches we hire have been excellent as well. So we've been able to hire personal trainers, fitness professionals who have great knowledge about Parkinson's. They've already been working in the community, teaching boxing classes, teaching power moves classes, teaching yoga, teaching Tai Chi, specifically for the Parkinson's population. So I don't know about y'all, but I feel really fortunate. I feel like our coaches have been awesome, truly amazing. They've been really the glue that has really, I think, really kept just exciting part of the center. All the members love to come to the classes. We've had really great feedback about all of our coaches and classes. So that's been pretty exciting for me to see. As being involved in this Parkinson's community for so long, as Emily I mentioned, it's kind of like a dream job for me to be able to come here and do what I love to do every day, and then being surrounded by all these awesome coaches has been pretty awesome.
Sharing. And Jill, I'm going to pivot to you. Maybe you can expand on your role.
Yeah, so I'm a coach here at the center, and we've been focusing on power classes, the Parkinson's specific exercise groups. We do cardio drumming. There's boxing for Parkinson's. And then, so I teach and coach classes, assist in other classes, and just helping people kind of. We also do the strength cardio classes with the Kaiser equipment, and using that equipment, it's a very popular class. The participants really like the feedback that they get on the screens, and so we can use that feedback to help them get the full range of motion, which sometimes can be lacking the symmetry from right to left because sometimes one side is less mobile or engaged than the other side. And then also helping them to try and create those powerful movements to help them kind of then carry that over into functional movements like the sit to stand, or getting up and down from the floor, and then even into their balance and stability with walking.
Totally. I just want to give a quick shout out to Jill too, that she's been a key member from the admin side. So as you mentioned, Gabe, it's been very grassroots. So along with everything Jill just mentioned from a coaching aspect, we also have relied on our coaches to even help build some processes from the beginning with like getting the physician approval form and helping us with mind body and member communication. And I think the great part about this team is we have a core group of coaches that are helping us build the ship as we are sailing, we say, or building the plane as we're flying it. So having someone like Jill on board is awesome because not only can she coach, but she can also bring strong admin skills. And when you know the person side of it, when you're coaching, it also helps you on the back end with building the plane, and that's necessary for a long-term growth. Just wanted to give a shout out to her and our other key coaches who have helped us in these grassroots times to get everything built.
In addition, Jill is one of our key assessment partners. So we do assessments throughout the week. Our key assessments are on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we really rely on these key coaches to do a really thorough assessment. So we've been fortunate to bring on board these coaches to help us do that. It's become very efficient, so we're very fortunate for their expertise.
Angee, you read my mind. I was going to go right into assessments. So
Okay,
let's
wonderful.
go to the onboarding process now. I'm curious to know what this
I'm
looks
gonna
like for
pass
a
it
new
off to Emily.
client, a new individual. I don't know the term that you use. Is it client?
Yeah, so we use the word member.
Okay, thanks.
We can talk you through that. So essentially someone registers on our website to become a member with us. So again, a member is a person with Parkinson's who's interested in coming to the center. And then they get a copy of the physician approval form. So essentially, it's just confirming that they have been diagnosed with either Parkinson's or Parkinsonism like T.S.P., MSA, vascular Parkinson's. So just making sure that a movement disorder neurologist and or primary care physician signs off on that diagnosis and says they're ready to start exercising. And then once we get that form back from them, they are able to sign up for an orientation. So the orientation is where they come in and they get a tour of the center and learn more about our programs. It is a very large building, so what's great about the orientation is just people being able to walk around and know where things are, get familiar with the process. And then they come in for that assessment. And so that's about 90 minutes where they go through various tests like the MOCA, which is a cognitive test. And then in addition, looking at their mobility. So 5 times sit to stand, 6-minute walk test, looking at their endurance. Getting up off the floor is a really important one because we do have yoga classes and our power moves classes where people are getting on the floor. So that's probably one of the most challenging skills we make people do. So we do make sure in our assessment we're screening for that. And then once they go through that assessment, we will place them in one of 4 levels of classes. So the blue group, we call it, is people who are very independent. So they're maybe exercising a lot already, going on 2-mile walks a day, maybe doing other exercise classes in the community, still working. And then the levels kind of go down from there functionally. So then orange people in the orange group have more limitations, might be moving slower, have more cognitive deficits. And then green, and then the yellow group, those individuals are typically using more walkers. Maybe they aren't able to get all the way to the floor, so we do primarily either sitting or standing exercises. But in each of those classes, we do challenge people. We want to make sure that we're taking the evidence that's out there, challenging people beyond their self-selected effort, like Angee was talking about. So in every class, we do optimize that challenge. It's just a matter of matching the individual to the class and really thinking about how we pace the exercises, how we set up the exercises to meet the individual where they're at. And that's really the purpose of the 4 different levels.
Fantastic. So these individuals come in, you mentioned some of the assessments, 6-minute walk, getting off the floor, sit to stand. They're now bucketed into these different groups.
Mm-hmm.
Is the goal to move to another group in terms of functionality, stay at the same one, and that's just where you're at, and now you're working through what you're capable of? How do we measure progress?
Yeah, great question. So, and we tell the members this up front at orientation that the purpose of the assessment is to guide placement into those 1 of 4 levels, but it can be flexible. So even we've already had it that a member actually came into my office the other day and said, Emily, I know you said the level's flexible and I feel like the orange class is too easy, so I want to move up to blue. And I loved that because the member had really great self-awareness, and I looked back at his assessment, reviewed his health history and how he did. I had made a note that he was a little bit in between levels, so I said, absolutely, let's push you up. So it can come from the member, not maybe feeling challenged in class and wanting to make that switch, or even the coach potentially noticing something. So that's where the teamwork aspect comes in. So let's say Jill's teaching a class and she has a member who's just doing really well and looks like they can absolutely handle a better class. Jill could make the recommendation to move them up. Or maybe it goes the other way where someone has more deficits than we originally saw in the assessment. We might need to move them down. So someone can move levels within the first week of class, the first month. We will reassess every 6 months, and maybe someone's very dedicated and they're coming every day and hey, they've improved and now they're scoring more in the blue category. Let's move them up. Or maybe someone had a fall or hospitalization and they need to move down. So that's all going to be part of our coaching process and our communication with the members is, meeting them where they're at, knowing things can change over time. Of course, our goal is to keep people in the level they're at. So it is kind of like a functional staging where, if someone's in the green level class and they're optimally challenged, what if we can keep that person in the green level class after 5 years? That's pretty amazing, right? And they're going to be getting the benefits of that and being able to exercise at that level. Yeah. And I did want to just mention too, In Motion, they also follow this approach as well. So with the different color levels, that's a nonprofit wellness center for people with Parkinson's in Cleveland, Ohio. And they are also following the same approach of having people exercise in 4 different levels. So we are kind of following the same process as them, and we're all learning as we implement it.
I would say 2 things stand out to me. One, it's the last thing you just mentioned. Progress isn't necessarily changing to a more functional level, but it's staying in the same level for a long period of time, which I really like.
Right.
And 2, it sounds like you're always constantly assessing. You mentioned Jill leading some of the classes, making recommendations, but then every 6 months, it sounds like there's a more formal reassessment. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, so
go ahead.
and that might be a time that we reassess and see that there's been a change and maybe they would evolve or move up to another color level. So if they haven't been someone that was an active person or exercising and now they've been exercising for 6 months, their mobility may have changed and so they might be able to work in a higher level.
Awesome. And in terms of availability of the center to these members, is this 7 days a week? Is it 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.? What are we talking about here?
So our hours of operation right now are Monday through Friday. The doors open at 8:30, they close at 5. So we have most of our classes during that time frame. We do offer some evening classes because we know there are people who have Parkinson's that are still working. So we do offer 2 evening classes, Tuesday evening and Wednesday evening, and we'll be adding more evening classes as we continue to grow. And I think like long term, we would like to be open like on Saturdays eventually. So that is something we're looking into down the road. Not yet, but we know there is some demand for that. So we're definitely considering that at some point.
Terrific. All right, so it's been a few months. What's the feedback been like? How are things going?
So far, I think we've had really great feedback. Everyone is really excited to come. The coaches are really excited. The feedback from everyone, the coaches, the members, the care partners. Yeah, just like being in the classes teaching. We all teach classes as well in addition to Jill. So it's fun just like walking through the center. Some days it's pretty busy and exciting to see members even just a group of members sitting around doing a puzzle together. So I think it's pretty exciting to see the community come together and have a place to just come, be together, socialize, just almost like kind of walk in the door and leave their worries behind, so to speak. So that's been great to see.
Anything else to add from anybody or?
I don't know if we talked about it very much, but we have some other classes that maybe don't get as much notice as some of the strength conditioning and Tai Chi. We have speech and brain builder classes, we have art classes, singing and dance for PD, and those are great classes. It really taps into, other people's interests, and it's open to all levels. So those are great classes that our members really enjoy too.
Yeah, really cool. It seems like this is not just a fitness class, right? But a more holistic approach to wellness, which is really awesome. And Jill, question for you, being a physical therapist, do you have specific physical therapy services that you're also providing if needed?
Yeah, so currently we're a community-based program, so all of our classes are group classes. So the members still, see their neurologists and primary care doctors and get those services as needed.
Really cool. And now I'm curious, I know you're in the early stages with some of the Kaiser equipment. You have other equipment there as well. I'm curious why you chose to go with Kaiser and the impact that has had on your members so far. Understanding there's a long way to go.
Right. I think, I wasn't personally involved in the original research of the equipment, but I do know just from what we've learned that, the Kaiser equipment, number one, it's safe. And I think just thinking about thinking about when you go to any type of gym, typically when you go to work on a machine, it's those plates, you can increase it by 5 or 2.5 pounds. What's great about the Kaiser equipment is just the fact that you gradually can increase it, and it's just so easy. They just with their thumbs they up the resistance or take it down. So it's just so much easier to use the equipment for people with Parkinson's versus the other traditional type equipment. So I think that was like one of the main reasons. And then, as Jill mentioned, just the feedback we can get from the screen for them, that visual feedback of, am I doing full range? Do I have enough power? How does right compare to left? So that's been really key when the members working on the equipment, we can say to them, here's where I want you to go with each rep, or, put more speed or power into it. So that's been really great in terms of the feedback that they get with each piece of equipment.
Can I
Yeah,
also
awesome.
add to that is what
Yeah.
I really love is everyone's going to get a login. So they're going to be able to see over time that they're getting stronger. And a lot of the studies that are out there in resistance training is it needs to be progressive. So of course, increasing someone's weight over time. And if you think about Parkinson's and the fact that it's a dopamine deficiency, and dopamine is our reward chemical. So anytime that we can reward people and give them that real-time feedback that, hey, you're getting stronger, over time, that's going to be very rewarding for them. That's going to really get their dopamine circuits going. And that's probably why in the research we see such improvements in people's Parkinson's symptoms, is that they're getting rewarded by seeing those improvements in their strength. And the machine is going to give them that feedback not only real time on like, yes, great job, you're going through the full range of motion, but even getting those results over time to say, wow, I'm able to do, more resistance and I'm getting stronger. So I think that's another really great part about the Kaiser equipment too.
Yeah, interesting point about the dopamine deficiency. I wasn't aware of that. So thanks for sharing that little nugget.
Oh yes, we're all
Yeah.
about the dopamine over here.
Yeah, we'd like to share our dopamine here. I will say
Exactly.
too, like in terms of the Kaiser equipment, we've kind of just started that process of some of the members, at least in the blue and orange group, have gotten PIN numbers. So when they get on the machine, they have the individual PIN number, they get logged in. So all of the reps and how much weight they're using is saved, right, on the machine. So we're just starting that process right now. I think just learning how to use the machines, the equipment has been the first month. Just going through that has been a process, which is great. Now we're really excited about taking it to the next step. Speaking with Landon and the research team there at Kaiser about now that we've learned how to use the equipment the members have, where do we go from here in terms of the research aspect of it?
Right. Well, it's really exciting and appreciate you sharing all this information and the exciting things that are happening there. So as we look forward, right, understand that we just started on August 11th, we opened the doors, looking forward for the next few years at the Kirk Gibson Center. Are there any new programs, initiatives, partnerships, anything that you see in the horizon that you're really excited about?
So many
Start,
things.
then I'll
Yeah.
let you guys add. So I'm like, we are growing. We are growing. I think it's exciting. In terms of programming, we have been able to, and we're planning on partnering with several organizations. Emily mentioned In Motion. There's another organization here in Michigan called the Michigan Parkinson's Foundation. They provide a lot of education for people with Parkinson's. So they've already have come into our center, and on Wednesday mornings, they offer a PD 101 class. They're offering care partner support classes, as well as support groups for people with Parkinson's. So we're really fortunate to be able to partner with the Michigan Parkinson's Foundation In Motion, and we are, fortunately looking to, down the road, partner with other organizations as well.
I would say too, just to add to that, like, because it's so unique what we're doing, we're learning as we go, right? So even when we survey our members and see how it's been going on their end, is there something we learn from that where it's a certain program they want to add or feedback that they have on the process? We're using that information to keep bettering our processes because we are so new and developing it as we go. So I think just looking internally to say what's working well, what do we need to change, making sure we're surveying our members and giving them what they want and what they feel they need as well. Because it is a community and we want to make sure that people feel comfortable here and we're decreasing stigma and we're getting the user experience as well. So we're excited to continue to evolve things based on member feedback and care partner feedback as well.
Awesome. So if anyone is listening in and wants to learn more about either the foundation or the center, where's the best place for them to go?
Well,
I
we
would say
have
go to
our
our website.
website, Kirk Gibson Center.
Awesome. And any social media accounts?
The Kirk Gibson Foundation.
Simple. We can be found on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Yes.
Facebook, Instagram, I think LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. So question for the group. I appreciate your time today and expanding on all these things related to, Kirk Gibson Center, Parkinson's, and the benefits of resistance training. Is there anything that you didn't have the opportunity to share that you would like to share with somebody listening in?
I'll just make a quick point about a quote that a member said recently that I think really captures what we're trying to do. And he said, I feel like I belong here. And that really hit me because as Jill mentioned, stigma is really big. When you have a neurodegenerative condition, you might not feel confident to, go to a gym or go to a regular yoga class because you've got a tremor and you're nervous about your balance, right? And so what we're trying to do here is decrease that stigma, help people feel comfortable, really capitalize on the social aspect and the community part, and then And I think that's how we get at the holistic approach. And then, by the way, we're also going to offer you evidence-based exercise that can help you slow the progression. So I think just highlighting that community aspect and how powerful that is, and the community part, I think is so important. And using that to help people get buy-in into exercise, because we are really challenging them with the classes that we're doing. And we want to take some advice from Kirk Gibson, our fearless leader, who helps us put an athletic flair on things, right? Where it's, you can have Parkinson's but still feel athletic, and come use the Kaiser equipment and train like you're an athlete. So I think that's really important, is how people feel when they come in here is really important to us, and what we're building as a culture here. So just wanted to put that part out there as well.
And just adding to that, many members have said it's just providing this sense of hope. There is hope that, like, just because you have Parkinson's doesn't mean it's a diagnosis of doom and gloom. Like, this center provides such a sense of hope when people come in. And as another member said, Craig, is like, Michael J. Fox Foundation is there to find the research for the cure. Kirk Gibson Center is here to help provide that high quality of life so people can live long enough to find that, to get that cure.
Yeah, excellent. I appreciate the insight there. And it's really nice to hear. And for me, sitting at my desk at home, it's great to see people who are so passionate about this. And I think it's really well thought out. I think what sticks out to me in this conversation is, yes, the services are there, right? You have the classes, you have the assessments, you have relationships with medical professionals. But the way that that's delivered is through community, through support. And I think it's really well thought out, and it's really awesome to see. And I imagine there's a reason why this will be really successful for a long period of time. So I appreciate your time for hopping on today, Angee, Jill, and Emily. Thank you so much. I will put in the notes resources, links to the website where people can go and learn more. But I appreciate you taking 50 minutes or so out of your days to sit down with us and teach us more about the Kirk Gibson Center and Parkinson's disease. And I really appreciate your time. So on behalf of Kaiser, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
You got it. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good.